Working.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hello. Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's just wait a second till everybody joins. In the meantime, let's just introduce ourselves real quick for the people that don't know us. So we are Juan and Miguel, two of the instructors at the GuitarZoom Academy. How are you today, Miguel?
Good. Thank you. How are you? How's your dog?
That's great. I'm good. I'm just running like a lot of errands and things today, but all good. All good. Pretty happy to be here. And yeah, pretty happy to have today's class, which is basically AMA, right? So that's
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
Awesome. Let's just, I just want to open the YouTube chat so I have access to that as well. In the meantime, again, everyone who's on the Zoom call, welcome. I'm gonna leave you a link in case you're interested into applying to the GuitarZoom Academy. This is actually something we do on the Academy every day, which is something over here is called an open room, which is basically a session where an instructor is just over there receiving anyone who wants to join a session and ask anything, whether it's guitar related or not. You can ask us anything on those sessions. We talk a lot about very specific musical stuff and even very personalized depending on what you're practicing or what your goals are. But yeah, we're here on the academy every day doing this kind of stuff, and there are some great conversations happening over there. So if you feel like this is something you're interested in, please consider applying on that link I left you on the Zoom chat. I'm gonna leave it on the YouTube chat as well, and just to say it out loud in case, it's called link.guitarzoom.com/start-now. That's the link. With that in mind, let's start with this. So, yeah, does anybody have like any specific questions? Go ahead, guys.
And maybe you can also type the questions in the chat if you don't feel like talking. But otherwise, you can just unmute yourself and let us know what your questions are.
Yeah, in the meantime, I do have a question in case anybody else doesn't have for now, and it is Miguel. Do you have another job apart from being an instructor here?
I actually do.
And what's
I
that?
do. I It's kind of funny, but I sell sheet music transcriptions.
Okay, okay. So you're
So
the one who transcribes them?
I'm not the one who transcribes them because it's kind of a big organization.
Mm.
So I'm kind of the middleman between the the clients and the transcribers. So it's a very interesting job, and it's I'm all the time kind of answering questions to people, to get them the right music for them. If they need sheet music, tablature, or they need an arrangement, or they need the music exactly as played. How about you? Do you do anything else besides
Okay.
working
Yeah,
here
that's awesome.
with
That's
us?
such a niche market. Like I
Yeah,
would
it
never
is.
have imagined there's a huge organization for that. What's the kind of clients you have, like orchestras or what's that?
Everything. Yeah, pretty much everything from the single instruments, just a vocal line, yeah, to big bands, symphonic orchestras, pretty much any ensemble you you can imagine.
That's interesting. I do transcribe as well, but not on such a big scale, just guitar arrangements or anything that people throw me, but more like a freelance thing. But that's so cool to hear. I had no idea. On my end, well, currently, this is my main thing, like being an instructor on GuitarZoom. But apart from that, I'm working on writing my second studio album. So the time I have like available
Amazing.
for that is then creating beats or writing lyrics or just practicing the songs. I actually was recording something today, some vocals. It went horribly wrong, so I'll need to repeat that tomorrow because yeah, I'm learning to sing as well. So it's kind of interesting to try to learn, but at the same time put yourself out there. But
Cool.
that's what I'm up to. before being here, I was mostly doing freelance, like just teaching, recording, transcribing a lot. Yeah, guys, any questions you have, please go ahead. Um, Guitar related, we're here for you. If you have any questions like, hey, I don't know how to play this, or I have a question on this scale on how to practice this, by all means, go ahead. We're here to answer
We have
anything you
questions
might have.
in the YouTube channel. So if
There's
you have,
actually a question there, which is from Roman, and he's asking how to not lose motivation to pick up the guitar when having a full-time job. Any tips? Definitely. Miguel,
yeah,
do you have any tips there?
yeah, I think, for example, having a very clear practice routine, so it's something that you know exactly. You know, when if you have a full-time job, that probably means that you have limited time to practice the guitar, to play the guitar. So if you have, for example, a very well defined practice routine, so that the moment you grab the guitar, you don't have to think about what do you have to play, or what are you going to play. So you know exactly, okay, I'm going to practice my technique exercises, my uh, right hand, left hand technique. I'm going to practice this section of this specific song that I'm working on. So you know exactly what to do whenever you grab the guitar, and that way you use your time more efficiently, and you progress also faster because you're working on the same things every day. And I think that seeing that progress, even if it's just a little bit every day, that's huge for motivation, because what makes us lose the motivation is when we get frustrated. Probably you grab the guitar, you play something, maybe a song that you already know, so you're not working that much on things that are challenging, or the things that you will need to work in order to make some progress. So you get kind of stuck, right? And that can affect a lot your motivation. That would be one tip from me. How about you, Juan? What do you think?
Definitely. So yeah, first from my personal experience, I worked for like 5 months or something like that on a call center, answering like just customer service questions. So it was pretty draining. I had like 10-hour shifts. It was rude. It was very
Oof,
very
yeah.
very strong to survive that. And on top of that, I just wanted time to work out. I like going to the gym, so I tried to go 5 times or six a week and practicing guitar. I literally just had time for these three activities on the day, and I
Mm.
had to sleep and do it all over again. So it was pretty tiring. The thing was that although I was extremely tired when I got home and needed to practice guitar, I also had in mind like a very specific objective. Like first, I knew that although could be tiring, I knew it was very fulfilling for me. So I tried to never forget that. Like, yeah, this is maybe a sacrifice on time and energy that I need to make, but it's because I really like this stuff, and I know the results are gonna pay off way bigger than just the time I'm putting into. So that's just the first mindset I had for just trying to grind it out. And the second one is, yeah, if you have something very specific and very clear to work on, both on a smaller and a bigger scale, that meaning on a bigger scale, what are your goals? And on a smaller scale, what do you need to do specifically every 5 minutes of the time you have available in order to get there? That also removes a lot of friction. And another tip I would have is, this is something that I got out of, I don't know, people that practice running, or I don't know, but it's remove all the friction that you can. So the tip that I heard sometime was, if you want to run first thing in the morning, leave your clothes right next to the bed and your shoes right here. That way, first thing when you wake up is that you see your running clothes, and you just need to put them on and open your door and go out running. So the less friction that you have in order to get there, the better. If you need to plug your amp and take your guitar out of the case and connect your guitar there and maybe pull out your book or whatever things you need, the more friction that there is, I think the more you'll think about it. So if you just make things extremely easy, like just having your guitar there and just being able to pick it up and start, that's going to be very, very efficient. And lastly, I just think for this kind of stuff, starting is the harder step. Once you actually pick your guitar and start playing for 5 minutes, it's easier to just continue than to actually stop and do something else. So yeah, if you just start and just take the decision and don't really overthink it, I think it makes things easier. So hope that those answers are useful for you, Roman. He's saying, big true, I only pick up the guitar and play the stuff I already know. So yeah, definitely, if you have something very specific in mind and are trying out new stuff, that also makes it interesting. Last thing I just want to say here is that over here in the Academy, we're very, very excited to have you guys here in case that's something you need for your process. We do very personalized assessments and we go over this stuff very specifically, like what's holding you back, what are you interested in, what do you need to work on, how to approach working on that stuff. So in case you feel that's something you want to explore, please consider joining. The link is right there in the chat. With that in mind, yeah, any other comments there, Miguel, or anybody who's on the call?
Yeah, I agree with the removing the friction part. You know, having, for example, some kind of stand for the guitar like this, or you know, maybe sometimes just having the guitar next to the couch, or yeah, out of the case, so you can just grab it and play. To do it as quickly as possible, to have your amp ready. Those things can really help. Then there's something that really works for me for motivation, that is going out and listen to live music. So, for example, here in the city I live in, I'm very lucky because there's a lot of live music, and seeing a guitar player that you admire, or something maybe new some genre that you're not used to listening to, for me that's very inspiring and motivating. So every time after a concert, yeah, I just want to go home and grab my guitar and practice because I get excited, I get new ideas. So that's something that also helps in to build this motivation to grab the guitar and play.
Yeah, definitely. Adding a little bit to that. Yeah, it like we're extremely lucky in the sense that you and I live in very crowded cities that have a lot of like a very active scene. But in case you don't, maybe you're on a smaller town or just live far away from venues. Also, a good idea could be to just take a look at YouTube videos from people that you like in concert. Like, I think the live aspect of music is really inspiring as well. For instance, yeah, I share the same thing. I try to go to concerts frequently, and I always get either motivated to work on my skills or just creative to create something, like very encouraged to create something new. But in case that's not an easy option for you, also just looking at stuff online is really helpful. There's a guitar player that I love who's called Pat Metheny. He's a jazz guitar player, and he's coming to my town actually a month from now. No, actually in a couple of weeks. I need to buy the tickets.
It's coming here too.
Yeah, like in the same week or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I found out, I went into YouTube just to see something from him, and I saw like every live video of his group is just absolutely mind-blowing. But I just saw a random one, and I was like, I want to practice. I want to play like him. So yeah, also just taking a look at YouTube videos from the people that you like might be inspiring as well, in case you maybe just need a boost. I sometimes do that sports-wise as well. Maybe I just take a look at bodybuilders training and I go, oh, I really need to go to the gym. And that's my motivation to just go and lift heavy. So yeah, that definitely works as well, just the live music aspect of it. Hope that's useful, Roman, again. Guys, in case you have any other questions, please let us know, guitar related or not.
Tips.
We're here
I
for
think we
that.
have another questions here in the chat. So
Yeah, owner said a
owner,
question.
yeah, probably not the name, but yeah, need some tips on keeping open strings from ringing while hitting other string. Yeah, I think, for example, if you're playing like a melody, things like that. So it's I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but actually I was working exactly with that on that with a student here at the academy. He was playing a melody that was a melody in the key of B. So and he was playing the melody of a vocal line. So usually in a with a vocal line, you wouldn't have that two notes sounding at the same time, right? You have with the voice, you can just sing one note at a time. And he had that problem that all the notes were fretted notes, but that open B string. So that B string kept ringing even when he was playing the other notes. So then you get that. And depending on the note and the chords that you're sounding behind, that can be a little bit of a problem. So you have a couple of options there. It's true that when we play open strings, we have a little less control over the notes that we fret. For example, we can't do vibrato on an open string. We can't, usually if we fret a note, just by lifting a little bit, releasing the pressure, the note stops. But with an open string, we don't have that. So for example, changing the fingering, that could be one option. That was, in this particular case, what I suggested to my student, to instead of playing it there with an open string, play it here. So in the guitar, you can find the same note in many, many places. That's one of the particular things about the guitar. For example, and then I'm avoiding that open string. But what if you have to play an open string, you don't have another options because of the fingering of it can happen. So you have basically two ways of muting those strings. So it's either with the right hand or with the left hand, and you have both options. So usually it will depend. It will be kind of a case by case, depending on what is it that you're playing. Most of the time, I think I will be muting it with my left hand. So for example, that same melody, you see, when I play a fretted note, I'm muting that open B string with the lower part of my finger. So I'm doing that. So when I'm fretting here on the third string, I'm muting that second string. And that can take some practice. You have to get used to that. Now I'm muting the string below. Then there's more possibilities that can happen. Maybe I need to mute the string above. So for example, maybe something like, let's say something, you're playing that, so you want to mute that. You can also do that, or you can use your right hand. But yeah, then it will depend on what is it that you're playing before, what are you playing after. Do you have any tips, Juan, about that?
Yeah, definitely. First thing is that I like to apply context to the stuff that I encourage people to do. So first I'm gonna just say like the isolated stuff, and then we'll apply it to a scale. So the first thing I wanted to say is that The way I handle muting is a little similar to what Miguel was explaining, on which we mute with both hands depending on the specific note we're playing. So I would encourage you to grab a random note on the guitar. So for instance, I'm just gonna grab G string, fret 9. It's this note right here. So look at this exercise. Try to mute the string that's above. So if we're playing the G string, try to mute the D string with the tip of the finger which you're playing the string with. So look, if I play the D string, it's gonna be muted because I'm touching it with the tip of this finger. That can be applied to any other finger as well. So that's initially something I would think of. The finger we're using to press the note is not only useful for pressing the note, but to mute the string above and also the strings below. Look, with just playing this note right here and not doing anything else with this hand, I'm able to mute all of the other strings that are around it, right? Now I have these open strings here, so I can mute them with my right hand. I use like this part of my right hand to mute the lower strings of the guitar. So basically what I do when playing anything is that if it's on the lower strings, my right hand will be lifted. But if I start to go up on the strings, I'll start to support this hand here, so I don't get anything here. That's one thing. So yeah, kind of I'm muting the lower strings with this part of my right hand and the higher strings with my fingers over here. Mainly finger 1, like I just used this one to mute the higher strings most of the time. That's one tip I would have. Yeah, now let's apply that to a scale. Work, I don't know, A minor pentatonic, which is like the most common people know. It's like this, right? So start note by note, very, very slowly, but trying to be aware of how your hand is muting the strings. Look, if I play the first note of the scale, I'm supporting this finger on top of the rest of them so I don't get any open strings there. It would be different to play it like this, on which I can have all of these open strings. If I'm supporting my hand over them, I won't have any unwanted open strings there. As I start to go up in the scale, I start to support this hand over here. So go extremely slowly. As you could tell, there were no open strings there, because I'm just being very careful on muting the rest of the strings with this hand. And sometimes I even help myself a little bit with these fingers. So look, right here, I'm trying to play this note, but I'm supporting these fingers and these ones, so they're muted as well. So that's the stuff I do sometimes. I unconsciously just support these fingers here to mute the other strings. So yeah, maybe a good idea would be to start very, very slowly to practice any scale you're working on, but paying attention to your muting technique and practice it both ways. Okay, going up on the fretboard and down. Go very slowly and try to listen to if there are any string noises, and if there are, try to find out why. Maybe you're not touching that string to mute it, so maybe try to pay attention to that. Or maybe sometimes the issue is on the string change, stuff like this. Right? Could you notice how when I lifted my fingers from the D string, I got that open D string? Sometimes we're doing pull-ups. So it would be like important to pay attention to not pull this off when you're changing strings, but just to try to mute it. That way we're only listening to the individual note we're trying to take a look at. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. How does that feel? Does that solve the question?
Yeah, there are a couple. It's actually that thing of being able to mute the other strings that you're not playing. It's kind of key, when for playing guitar repertoire, any style, any genre, because many times we'll be playing, for example, I don't know, power chords, and we want to play the 5th string and the 4th string, for example, but you want to strum and to have kind of a good intensity, so when I'm strum with my right hand, I'm hitting yeah, maybe not all 6 strings, but it's pretty impossible to to play something like that and be that accurate. So you are just playing the 5th and the 4th string. So how you do that? Exactly with that, I'm muting, for example, the 6th string there with the tip of my finger, and I'm muting here with the lower part of my finger. So then you can play things like that, or you find that all the time. For example, when you play octaves, things like that. So again, I'm muting here, I'm muting there, here with the tip of my finger. And then you have other styles, like for example, Stevie Ray Vaughan plays a lot of things like to play the blues, and it's the same thing. He's playing just one note, some line like that, but he's actually strumming all the strings. So you really have to kind of develop that technique of being able to mute. So yeah, a very good question indeed.
Yeah, I hope that helps. Yeah, last thing I just wanted to say, because you were playing octaves, is that when doing that kind of stuff, I use my middle finger to mute the strings that are on top. So look, I can strum all of these notes, and I'm just hitting actually this and this one. And in order to not get the higher strings, I just support my middle or sometimes ring finger here. As you go on to the higher strings, it's even more useful, because if you're strumming, you can't use your right hand to mute them. So we need something here. Look, I can strum all of them and just get the notes I want, because I'm using this one. If I wasn't, there's a lot of noise there.
Yeah.
So very different to use this one for maybe challenging fingerings, or just when you need to mute the lower strings. It's useful. So yeah, hope that's useful. Very, very good question. Roman left one on the chat as well a moment ago, and it is question. Sometimes when barring the fretboard, I can't get the high E string to ring out correctly. Any tips? So I'm assuming you're working on bar chords like this one, right? The main tip I have, and it applies to anything technique related, is check your finger placement. So what I mean with that is that the guitar has frets, right? The frets are these metallic bars that we have over here. So if you press a note, try for your finger to be as close to the fret as it can. If it's too far away, we'll get buzzing, or we need just a lot of strength on our grip to make it sound clean. But it's easy to get that. If we go over the fret, it sounds muted. But if we are right behind the fret, we don't need a lot of strength, and the sound comes out very, very clean. So maybe start exploring your individual notes like this, whether it's on a scale or just an exercise like this one. Just try for your fingers to be as close to the fret as they can. Now, this is very useful because this applies not only to single notes but to chords as well. For instance, this is a very challenging voicing for me. It's like quite a stretch, but look, all of my fingers are close to the fret. When I started to do this one, I maybe had something like this. So for instance, this finger was too far away from the fret, and I was getting that buzzing. So yeah, take a look at your finger placement. With that in mind, the same applies to chords. Sometimes what happens on that high E string is that your hand is too diagonal. Let me switch this a little bit. Your hand might be too diagonal, so you end up with your finger too far away from the fret. Instead of it being here, it might be over here. So that's why we might get that buzzing. So try for your fingers to be always very close to the fret. Now, for specific bar chords, I made up this exercise, and it is start playing a single note. Okay, now 2, now 3, now 4, Can you see how in all of these examples my finger is right here and not like this, but like this? That's why I'm able to play all of these notes cleanly. That was 4, now 5, now 6. Right? It's different than if it's straight and close to the fret. That will be much easier. So hope that helps. Do you have any other like comment or tip on that, Miguel?
Yeah. So usually, also another thing that happens with bar chords is that, for example, when we play an F, that's one of the the most challenges bar chords. When we're learning. One thing that happens is that we apply excessive, force. We apply excessive, amount of pressure, and more than we actually need. Because for a chord like this, for example, an F, yes, we need to play that bar chord. I mean that bar with our index. But if you think this, the fifth string, the fourth string, and the third string are already taken care of by these other three fingers. So the notes and the strings that we actually need to play with the bar are just three notes. The first string, the second string, and the sixth string. So we don't need to apply pressure to play all six strings. We just need to play this one, and the sixth string. So that's something also that you can work on to distribute, more efficiently the pressure that you're applying. So when I'm playing a chord like this, like an F chord, in my bar, I'm actually not putting any pressure here because I'm not playing those strings. I'm playing it there, so I'm just making sure that this note sounds good, this one, and this one. And here, you see it doesn't sound good because I'll be playing it there. And that requires a little bit of, finger independence and to be able to apply the strength just here and here, not here in the middle. So I have, as Juan said, I am still pressing the string right behind the fret, but I have my finger a little bit curved. It's not like this. It's a little bit curved because also this part of the finger, it's easier. It's kind of more flat than, for example, right here in the joint. So I prefer to have here the very tip of the finger, and here pretty much the end part of my finger. And since I have it a little bit curved, my finger, I'm not applying any pressure there. So you can work on that. So making sure those three notes sound good, and then you can include the other three notes, and that for any other bar chord that you might play. For example, this one, it would be the same thing. So these three notes you're playing there, and so in this kind of chord you're actually playing just two notes, here and here. So also check what strings do you actually have to play, and try to play around with the amount of pressure that you're using. That would be my tip on that.
Yeah, great one. I actually realized that via a student like a year ago. I hadn't really noticed that, but when I do bar chords, it's easier to do them with this side of your finger than with just like this part of, I don't know the names of these things, but yeah, the side of the finger is easier to do than the front of the finger. you need to apply much more pressure this way than if it's a little bit rotated. I think that rotation even comes from your elbow. Now that I take a look at my movement, if your elbow is kind of a little bit closer to your body, it's easier for your finger to be rotated this way, and that will make bar chords way easier than if your elbow is more outside. I'm not hitting the high E string right here. I would need to do more pressure, but if it's here, automatically it's being pressed. So yeah, great tip on just rotating your finger a little bit. And yeah, lastly, I would also recommend when practicing chords, whether they are bar chords or regular chords, check string by string. Make sure that every one of them sounds clean. Sometimes we might get stuff like this, right? This string is muted. So I would ask myself, why is that? In this case, it's because my pinky is covering the G string, and it shouldn't. So if I lift it up a little bit, that G string is now not muted. So yeah, take a look at that, and if you have any weird sounds, ask yourself why. This is sounding like that because my finger is too far away from the fret. If I take it closer, right? It was like this, and now it's here. Okay, much better, right? So yeah, take a closer listen to what you're playing, and if something doesn't come out as intended, ask yourself why. Most of the stuff is either finger placement, it's too far away, or another finger is covering it, like that. So if you lift it up a little bit, you'll get the note. So yeah, most of the stuff when practicing chords comes down to those two. So just try to ask yourself why. Awesome, great question.
Yeah, I wanted to add just one more comment on on the pressure and the efficiency of the pressure that we use. There's an exercise that I used to practice. For example, when playing kind of difficult positions, or just any position, to be honest, to realize that the amount of pressure that we need in order to create a good sound with the guitar is very minimum. So most of the time we're applying extra pressure. So then we get tense, and so we get tense, we get tired, and yeah, there's when things start to sound not good. So the exercise was to actually play, like this kind of ugly sound. So if I had, for example, a chord like this, I would play it. It's actually not super easy to play all the notes, right there right before it sounds good. So you still get the sound, the pitch of the note, but sounds, buzzing. And why do that, right? Why play like this? It's because when you have this, when the note sounds like this, you just need a little extra pressure, and then you get a clean sound. So when you aim for this sound, you're actually closer to getting a good sound than if you press, with all your strength. So that's a way to practice that efficiency of with the pressure that you're applying with your left hand. And it's a good exercise to realize how much pressure do we actually need to create a good sound with the guitar. Just there. So that's a good exercise to practice.
Definitely. With that in mind, I just wanted to say, guys, if you're enjoying this conversation, this is the kind of stuff we do every day on the Academy. I know there are a couple of messages on the chat saying that you're interested, both from Rob and Philip, but don't have the funds right now. If that's the case, don't worry about it. That's why this free community exists. We're also just available here to teach you what we can and try to have a good conversations over here. But in case you consider this is something that could work or help you build that guitar progress up, please consider joining the academy. I'll leave you guys on the chats the link for that. I just wanted to highlight, look how interesting is it to have this kind of conversations, because the question that somebody has works for a lot of people, right? The things we talked about over here to solve that issue on the bar chords took us a whole conversation that might resonate with some of you guys, and we always learn new stuff from this conversation, even us. So it's just very important to have these group conversations as well. We always get something new. So if that's something that you would like to enjoy, please consider talking to us to know more about our academy. We will be very happy to talk with you guys. With that in mind, any other questions? Let us know. We're just very happy to answer to all of them. In the meantime, I just wanted to say, yeah, adding on that strength on the fretboard, definitely pay attention to that. The way I try to handle that is try to be as gentle as you can with your grip. Sometimes we're adding too much strength over here, and that one is tiring, and two, if we're trying to speed up our playing, it's gonna slow it down. So if we really want to play faster, the lighter your grip is, the better. For that, when I was studying, my guitar teacher told me an exercise, and it was to try to press a note, any random note, and try to let go of your grip as much as you can until you start to not get the note. So that's when it becomes too little strength. So if you add just a little bit of extra pressure to that, you get the note. It's actually much less than you would imagine. If you just tap it real gentle, you get the sound you're looking for. So, same thing for every finger. Try to just let go of your grip until you don't have the note, and then just apply a little bit more until you do. That's exactly the grip you need. Not for everyone. And I would suggest take this to your scales or your riffs or melodies, whatever you're playing. If you're practicing, I don't know, pentatonic scale. Try to go initially very slow, but paying attention to your hands being very relaxed. Try not to have a very violent grip over here, because that will make things very tiring. And if you are very conscious of that light grip, if you start to speed it up, it's gonna be way easier. I'm not the faster player around, but I sometimes can play a little fast, or a couple of phrases going very fast, and it really helps. If my grip is too tight, I can't really go that fast because it takes more time and effort to move my fingers. So yeah, try that out on your melodies, scales, riffs, chords. The looser you go over here, the better it will be for all of them, and the easier it will be to play them. There's another question on YouTube. Oh no, just a comment for Roman. I put the knuckle directly in between the high E and B, and my fingertip is well above the low E at the top. Works for me every time. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Try that out, Roman. You never know what you can find.
Awesome. Yeah, that depends also on the size of your hand, the size of your guitar neck. That can vary a little bit, but yeah, definitely those kind of tips can work for everybody. Yep. Now maybe just adding a little bit to that. Now talking just like random stuff. Sometimes that, or something that I encountered once, and it was pretty cool to study, was doing bar chords, but instead of doing them like this, it was to switch the lower note to your thumb. John Frusciante from the Red Hot Chili Peppers plays like that, and that was a game changer for me. It's not that I do this all of the time, but it's a fun thing to explore. He plays his bar chords like this instead of this sometimes. It's just pretty cool. It allows him some pretty cool melodies with his pinky. Not that they can't be done like this, but it just has a different angle to your hand, so it's a little funny to explore it that way, in case you're into that. I mean, it can be done both ways. I just find this interesting in case you want to try it out. Yeah, sometimes you'll encounter this kind of thumb playing. Okay, so definitely if you want to take a try on that, please do. Yeah, that's cool, the thumb. I don't use it that much because I have kind of small hands. But yeah, chords, for example, like this, that you couldn't play otherwise with just, the four fingers. Those are cool chords.
Yep, it allows you some freedom sometimes. So it's just a
Mm.
tool that you might be able to use. Also, there's a comment from Rob. He's saying you answered one of the problems I have with lifting my fingers too far off the fretboard. Definitely, that comes with a disclaimer, and it is, I always say, technique is subjective because of what we just said. Some people will tell you not to have your thumb over here, and look, John Frusciante from the Peppers plays like this, and who's gonna tell him he's wrong? He literally inspired me to pick up the instrument, so why is he wrong? So yeah, that's the little disclaimer. But the way I personally suggest practicing scales and all of that to work on your technique is try to do the smaller movements you can. The more minimalist you can be on how you're moving your hand, the easier it will be to play the notes and to speed them up as well. That's not to say it can't be done that way. You could be more exaggerated with how are you moving your fingers, and it still works. It's just, for me, it's more comfortable to do smaller movements, and that has really helped my technique. So yeah, that's just my little comment on what Rob said.
Well, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, guys, hit us up.
On YouTube, here on Zoom.
In the meantime, I just thought of one in case anybody has a question in the meantime, and it is, Miguel, what would you suggest people that want to start approaching soloing and improvising?
I would suggest usually we can come up with better melodies singing than just playing with the guitar. So I think a good approach is, for example, take just 4 notes and sing those notes of da 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 da, and try to come up with short phrases that sound, kind of singable. Da 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 da, and try to find those notes. Sometimes if I just follow the notes of the scales, I end up with a melody that's not very, it's not very pleasant. It's not super melodic because we're just, kind of hitting notes blindly and without thinking about the actual melody. And I think also starting, with just 4 notes, maybe we already know the full pattern for the scale, but just take 2 strings, so, and play around with those 4 notes. And because having those limitations, we have less thing to work with, and so less things to think about. We don't have 6 string now that we have to choose which one to play. We're just playing with these 4 notes, and then once you feel comfortable with that, maybe you can add another one, then another one, maybe play another note on the same string. That's also very good for finding more, let's say, more singable lines to play on a single string instead of playing more vertically. That will be kind of some first steps. What are your first steps to creating melodic solos?
Yeah, definitely. Singing is one of them, and it's really, at first, hard. Like, you don't really know how to, or at least that happened to me. Like, I didn't know how to articulate stuff. But yeah, if I just had a scale and started to sing stuff, it would eventually start to come out somehow. I can't explain that, but try it out because you want to try soloing, guys. So, Like if you start to connect your voice to what you're playing, it starts to make sense somehow, and it's more pleasant to hear. Yeah, they're not so mechanic, but more melodic melodies, if that makes sense. So that's thing number one. Try to sing them. Here's an idea. If you have a scale and are practicing that, but don't really know how to make it sound musical, here's another idea I have. Coming back to A minor pentatonic, my tip would be try to play notes on the scale that are together. That kind of movement is called neighboring notes, on which you just play all of them like that in a row, just one note after the other. But try to randomly stop. That's just to do phrases. Same as in language, a phrase is an idea that has a start and an end. So, if you stop, that makes it very clear that you ended something. Right? I'm playing just the notes of the scale together, but I'm just trying to give my phrases an ending. That makes it very clear that that's an idea. Now, another idea, a little bit related to that, is not only start on the edges of the scale, but you can start on random places. Right? You can start anywhere to do your phrases. Another idea is you don't need to actually play, I don't know, going up and stop. You can switch directions mid-phrase. Right? That allows us more longer phrases. Right? I did a whole phrase just using notes of the scale, but kind of randomly zigzagging around. So those are also some ideas that I could give you. Both the singing approach and this more mechanical approach will have very different results. Like the melodies you get out of both sound very, very different. But try them out. I think they're both good perspectives to start building melodies. So yeah, that's some very cool ideas. Philip says he has not tried that before. He will have to give it a go. Please do, and let us know how you do with that. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, this technical, that we use a lot here at the GuitarZoom Academy, that's called meandering. That's when you have the scale and you just play continuous, let's say for example 8 notes, the continuous rhythm, but you try to break this pattern of going note by note with the scale up and down. That's how probably most of the time we practice the scales like that. So you will keep those 8 notes going, but try to skip strings, skip notes, so it will sound something like. So, etc. Just playing the notes of the scale, but in kind of breaking this up and down scaly pattern. And once you have that kind of figured out, you can do exactly what you mentioned before. That is playing the same thing but stopping at a random place. So and slowly it starts sounding more like music. And I'm just thinking, in kind of this more mechanical way of just playing random notes, starting at some point and stopping randomly. And if you play, for example, with a backing track, it sounds even more like like music. If you play just like that, maybe it doesn't sound that much like music, but with the context of a backing track, you might get surprised of yourself, playing those techniques.
Yeah, and actually, I like that one as well. Like, just try to skip notes. That's basically the opposite of neighboring notes, right? Instead of playing them together, try to. You get very fun sounds out of that. So that's something to explore as well. You get this kind of very intervallic sound to it. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's very interesting. So it's a very different sound than playing. Right? So maybe try both as well to contrast. Contrast it's also a very key component of improvising. So by all means do. Now, yeah. Any other questions, guys? Lastly, just before we wrap it up, I would just say something, and it is Miguel. What would this suggest, like real quick, to people that might be into wanting to play songs? Like, what is a path you would suggest to practice?
Yeah, I would suggest, trying to first find a song that is, within your level. If you're just starting and you want to play a super difficult guitar solo, you'll be able to learn it, but it might take too long, maybe too much time of practice until you get it right, and that could lead to going back to our first questions by Roman. That can lead to frustration, and at the end you end up without motivation to pick up the guitar. So at first, yeah, pick songs that with chords that you can manage. For example, if you're not familiar with bar chords yet, maybe try to find open chord songs. As there are many one chord songs, two chord songs, three chord songs that you can start with those. Another thing that I would recommend also, if you maybe the song it's a little over your skill level at the moment, but try to not focus on playing the song note by note, but for example, many times you can just play the chords, open string chords, even if maybe the original song is playing this position, instead of this one. So you can try to find ways also to play the same song without having to playing it note by note. That might be a little too difficult. I will also recommend breaking the song into smaller sections. So for example, start just with the introduction and practice that. Find the places that you have trouble with, the challenging changes. Focus on that instead of, for example, when you practice a song, you start from the beginning, you play until the end, and that's good, but that's more like playing. It's not really practicing. When you grab the guitar, you want to practice and work on the stuff that you have to work. You go directly to the parts that are challenging for you, and that also goes back to that first question. When you have a structure practice plan and you're practicing one song every day, already what are the challenging parts of the song. So I grab the guitar and I go directly to, I don't know, this pattern of the song that I can't play. So especially if you have limited time to practice, you go directly there, you go through your practice routine, and then you have some time maybe to do a full pass of the song. Those will be that's what first come to mind. How about you, Juan?
Yeah, definitely find something that you like consider appropriate for your skill level. If you're not very comfortable with bar chords yet, work on your just open chords, work on this kind of chords. Also, apart from what Miguel just suggested, I would suggest take a look at the structure of the song. He actually mentioned that as well. But yeah, I would suggest write it down on a piece of paper. And just take several listens of the song and try to say, okay, here's the verse 1, here's chorus 1, then after this, maybe verse 2. Like, the more details you have in the song structure, the easier it will be both to memorize it down the line, to approach each individual section because you know when they are happening, and at the end of the day you'll have a much more clearer map of what's going on the song when you go in and play it. So yeah, I just think writing stuff down and especially the song structure is really useful for starting to learn them. With that in mind, guys, yeah, thank you also, guys, for joining. It's been really fun. Yeah, we should do a couple of these more often about just answering
That was really
any
nice.
questions. Yep. So we'll take that into account. I'll just leave you one last time the link in case you want to apply to the academy. We'll be very happy to talk with you guys. No strings attached. I just want to say over here we do know how important it is to have structure and accountability on your processes. So we do very personalized assessments on these are your goals, your objectives, you want to do this. So not only we have that in mind, but we designed a very specific path for you to follow, and we're checking on you constantly to make sure that you know how to approach things, that you're not getting off the sides, and are really effective with your practice time. So in case that's something you can consider for your own guitar journey, please consider joining the academy. No strings attached to just applying and having a conversation with us to see if this is the right fit for you. With that in mind, guys, thank you very much for joining, for your questions. It's been really fun to talk about this kind of stuff. And yeah, see you around over the next days. We will have another class, I would say, on Thursday. I don't know if the topic is defined yet, but if not, we'll make an announcement on our GuitarZoom free community. So be paying attention there if in case you want to join the next one. And thank you, Miguel, as well for your time. Anything else to say?
Thank you, Juan. No, thanks everyone. Good questions, and yeah, I think we should do more of these Ask Me Anything sessions. So yeah, thanks everyone, and hope to see you again very soon.
Awesome. Yeah. See you guys around. Have a great night or day for calling. Bye bye.
Yeah, ciao ciao.